not what we want to do, but unfortunately, NAWEC is going on and off, and for most of the time, it is the generator that is on, and we got to negotiate with the hotel to make sure that the generator is kept on. So this is our challenge. Thank you so much. Registrar, can you please call the witness back?
Madam Chair, I was just telling my lead counsel that even though the correct terminology is on and off, but it is more accurate to say off and on. Because first there is no light. With NAWEC, they will start by not having light, and they will on and then off. So what they do, they off and on, they off and on.
You are very right. Thank you so much for clarifying it so aptly.
Yes, one of my friends would say even it appears as if it is jumping lights. During Christmas when you have the jumping lights, they will just be jumping around the house.
Good afternoon, Mr. Witness number 1 and number 2. Welcome back for continuation of our afternoon proceedings of this Commission of Inquiry into Local Government Councils and related matters. As a matter of routine, just as I always say, I am obliged to remind you of the oath you took to make testimonies before this commission. On that note, I want to remind both of you that you are still under oath. Madam Chair, over to you for continuation of our proceedings.
Thank you. Mr. Jete, Mr. Sanyang, you are welcome back. And sorry that we had to rise very early. I just informed the commission that it's unfortunate. The lights are on and off. We have challenge with NAWEC. That is the reason why the breaks are sometimes so long, because the lights will be going every 5 minutes and coming back. And without light, we cannot proceed in the hall. And even given as we are sitting in the hall, is excessively hot right now because the ACs are not fully functional. So, can we proceed, Council? Yes. Before we break,
yes.
I did indicate to Mr. Sanyang that he referred me to the law and referred us to the provision of the law, which sorry? Yes, that is where I'm opening.
In exercise of our powers.
No, it's not 32.
13, 2.
Oh, okay.
13 subsection 2.
2, okay. Yes. 13.2 says, in the exercise of its powers, the authority shall not interfere in the award of any specific procurement contract. I was asking the question pursuant to the letter dated I think the letter dated the 2nd of September 2020. Can you please look at that letter?
From GPP, eh?
Yes.
This is 17th September. Second line. Council, Assistant Register, can you help us to locate this letter? Take it on. Sure. No, I have not seen the letter. Letter. Show us the.
Council, can you
Is
help
that
him?
letter in relation to
It's the letter.
where they were saying that where they were questioning the appointment or the award of the contract to Keba and Sons? Is that the one?
Yes, it's the letter dated the 2nd of October 2020, and it is in response to their letter dated the 29th of September 2020. And because that is the basis upon which GPPA wrote on the 4th of March 2023, advising them to maintain the contract.
Yes.
So, and this is relative to this provision that I asked him, that I asked the question with respect to as to whether it is within their purview or their mandate to insist on a PO
August 26th?
yes.
Yes.
No, it's, the letter is dated from the authority the 2nd of October. And this is in response to the letter from BCC, which is dated the 29th of September 2020. It is very difficult to locate in the file because the files are really not in order. Can I give him the copies that I have, whilst you can avail the file to council to help you check, the exact location of the said letters,
Absolutely.
which you can tag to allow him to confirm that it is contained in the file.
Yes.
Okay. So please give him this to check on this letter, which is the second to the last, and to look at this one, the first. Let him look at the second to the, yes. They are all tagged.
Evaluation report.
Are you reading the
Yes,
the letter dated 2nd
2nd of October, yes.
Yes. No, just read. You may not read to the commission, but just quickly go through
Okay.
so that you can answer the question and we can proceed. Yes, yes, Mr. Jete.
Your Honor, can he read it loud so that
Yes,
we
yes,
can all-
okay. You can follow. You
Here?
can read it. You can read it loud so that we could all be guided when we ask
Okay,
the question.
the letter dated 2nd October 2020, addressed to the Chief Executive Officer, Banjul City Council. And it reads, Dear Sir, evaluation for the supply of 5,700 plastic waste bins and 2 compactor trucks. Your letter reference 65/BCC/91 volume 2, dated 29th September 2020, relative to the above subject matter. Following a detailed review of your third resubmission as regards the procurement of 5,700 waste bins, please be informed that from the totality of documentary evidence before the authority vis-a-vis your requirements, Fatima Trading is the most responsive bidder, both technically and financially, and has fully satisfied the criteria set forth in the approved bidding document. We further educate on the spirit of the content of our statement contained in our previous letter reference GPPA/BCC/TR320/11JJ, dated 25th September 2020, that copying and pasting is not an anomaly in the country public procurement system. Translate in simple language that, or thus, GPPA is not aware of and have not seen any provision in both the Procurement Act and its attendant regulations that prohibits copying and pasting during a bidding process. Therefore, the onus lies with BCC to point out any provision in the procurement law that prohibits copying and pasting, as GPPA is not aware of any. Furthermore, be reminded that what is expected from participating bidders is to present their offers against your requirements. If the manner does not violate the procurement law or regulations, it shall not be treated as violation.
Yes, and then read the letter.
The other letter.
Yes.
A request for technical expertise, advice, and again addressed to the Chief Executive Officer, Banjul City Council. Dear Sir, your letter reference 36/BCC/91/2/volume 3, dated 1st March 2021, requesting the authorities' technical advice on whether to proceed with the previous contract arrangement or to sign a new contract agreement for the procurement and supply of 5,700 plastic waste bins. On this basis, the authority, without admission of liability, advise you to maintain the previous contract agreement with Fatima Sabali Trading with regards minor adjustments. And that is, for example, dates, timelines as appropriate. We thank you for your understanding and cooperation, and avail ourselves for further guidance on your procurement.
Oh, yes. So now my question is, they wrote to you to ask you your technical advice
Good.
as to whether to maintain this contract or to sign a new contract. Going by the response, do you think the response is adequate or sufficient, given what they have requested you to do for them?
come again. Whether we take the advice,
Whether you have provided, as per their request, you understand, the technical expertise, the technical advice.
whether that was given to them.
Yes.
Yes, we have given them the technical advice
Okay.
in the sense that remember that bidding is a process,
Yeah.
starting from approval of the bidding document, when requirements will be fully indicated, and based on that, approval will be given on otherwise, meaning whoever is to offer or bid must bid in accordance with those requirements. And our role as an authority is to ensure that the procedures and processes are fully followed to the letter. And the bidding document is approved. Based on that, offers are made and evaluations were also conducted. And from their evaluations, they make recommendations. So our role is to ensure that whatever recommendations are made are in line with what the law provides for.
Proceed, please.
Yes. So our advice is like to ensure that whatever decision that they are going to take is in accordance with what the law provides for. So if they make a decision which is not in line with the law, obviously we cannot accept, we cannot allow them to proceed. But that may not tantamount to interference, because already a bidding document is agreed upon, a bidding document is approved, hence they are supposed to go by what the law provides for.
Oh, sorry. My question now is that before I even ask my question, was this the supplier that was finally given the contract?
Yes, it was the supplier, Fatima.
She was the final supplier that was contracted for to deliver
Exactly.
on this contract.
Exactly. Because if I can come further, according to them, Fatima was going to be disqualified because she's been accused of copying and pasting. She copied and pasted. In the bidding document, there is a portion called the combined technical specification, where you specify your requirements. It's a table on the left. You indicate all what you wanted. And on the right, the supplier will indicate what she has. So what the supplier did was, what they said they wanted, she copied to paste on the right, on the other side, to indicate that he met all those requirements. The onus now lies on BCC to verify whether what Fatima is saying is true or not. But as far as the laws are concerned, there is nothing that says, both in the regulation and the act, that copy and paste is not acceptable.
But now, in those same transactions and in the same file, we have seen that the performance security bond was not provided. There is no proof as to what time that security performance bond was provided for. Or is there any evidence in the file?
I did not go over the letter. I went briefly over the reasons why they said they're going to
Yes, my reason for
disqualify
asking the question is
Fatima.
that because I believe that you have said, and we accept, that procurement is a process and it must be followed. And
Correct.
if there are some hitches in the process, it should be clear before you finally give the advice.
Correct.
So it is in that line that I'm asking, because in the same file we have seen that there were back and forth, you understand, letters, and we have not seen in the file any security performance bond being provided for as per the bidding document. So, and these are all processes, as you always say, they must complete the process.
Correct.
And it's a checklist process.
Correct.
If you bring security performance bond, it's verified, it's okay, you tick. Is that not it?
Correct.
Yes. So we believe that there were issues, and whether the authority took its time to look at whether, in actual fact, this particular supplier complied fully with everything that is required for to perform or to supply or to do whatever act is required under the bid.
Correct.
So that is why I asked the question.
Correct. Now, to establish
So
that.
now, can you tell me whether going through the file, you can tell for sure that the supplier was fully compliant?
Then I must take time to go over all
The file.
to verify
see.
whether everything
Yes, because
was
we have seen
provided
so
or
many
not.
omissions
Okay.
that are not contained in the file. So this is why we asked the question. But since we cannot give evidence, and it's a file coming from you, we just have to ask you the questions.
Yes, but
Thank you. Yes,
so
all right,
can
we
I
will
take-
give you time to look at it. But hopefully you will send us the reply or the information when you do so.
Okay.
So, Council.
Yes.
Yes, can I have my documents, please? Thank you.
Can you?
5,700.
I want the same. Are you set?
Yes.
Yes. Just to summarize briefly with respect to your communication with the chairperson. So what happened in that situation is that basically at the end of the day, Fatima Trading was awarded the contract.
Correct.
Is that not the case?
Yes.
When BCC earlier on decided to award the contract to Keba and Sons,
Correct.
on grounds that copy and pasting was what disqualified Fatima Trading.
Correct.
So the position of GPPA is that copy and pasting is not a violation as far as you are concerned based on the act and the regulation. Is that not the case?
Correct.
But subsequently, that's why these three files are all in relation to Fatima Trading and the dustbin issues regarding BCC. Do you copy?
Yes.
Yes. So subsequently, the communications are such that BCC sought to terminate the contract with Fatima Trading because, as far as they're concerned, she had about 2 weeks or thereabout to submit or fulfill her own side of the contract, which is the 5,700 dustbins. And they are saying that she failed in her obligations. So now, Fatima, at some point, lawyers were involved. Fatima involved her lawyer, Ida Drame, and then she wrote. She wrote to BCC, and the assertion was that basically Fatima did not really violate the agreement because she was not accorded the opportunity to fulfill the contract. So basically, that is the situation with Fatima. And then at some point, they wrote to your office seeking for advice based on the communications between BCC and Fatima Trading regarding as to whether BCC should go ahead and terminate the contract or not. Is that correct?
Correct.
So now you had advised that they should maintain the contract. Now, but before we get there, let's look at the circumstances surrounding the awarding of the contract. Now, can you, the file mark 2 of 20, that is the year 2020.
Yes.
Can you please refer yourself to the letter dated the 13th of July 2022? Do you see it? Where one of the contrast committee or two of them refused to sign the minutes of the contrast committee.
You said the letter dated
Do you see the letter dated the 13th of July 2022?
13th July.
Yes, do you see it? If not, it is the same content with the letter the 1st of July 2020 as well. So either of them would suffice.
The letter dated 13th July from GPPA.
Yes.
Yes.
What is the content of the letter?
Again, the address to the Chief Executive Officer, Banjul City Council.
Yes.
Dear sir, restricted tender for dustbins and compactors. Your letter reference 56/BCC/9, volume 2, dated 7th July 2020, relative to the above subject matter. The authority has taken note of the modification made to your bidding document relative to the procurement of 2 compactors and enjoin you to proceed with the tender. Please indicate the minimum value of similar contracts on clause 21 of the bid data sheet before inviting bidders. The authority acknowledged and thanked you for providing the list of appointed contractors or committee members and their sample signatures against their names and
Mr.
telephone
Sanyang,
numbers.
no, Mr. Sanyang is the list of appointed contracts committee members, not contractors. Did you see that?
Yes, for providing the list of appointed contracts committee members and their sample signatures against their names and telephone numbers. However, we would still like you to regularize the following for our records and future references. 1. Why Ablai J. Kaur, Acting Director of Audit, did not sign the list of contracts committee members submitted. 2. Is there any reason why the Aidan Jai, Acting Procurement Officer, declined to sign the list of the contracts committee members submitted? Finally, be reminded that 60% of the bidding document was sale of bidding document.
Okay. It seems you always remind them of the 60%, huh?
That is what is us.
That is what?
Our backbone. Without
yes,
it,
I see in every letter you always remind them of the payment, 60%
yes,
payment.
Exactly.
It is funny because if you had been doing, if you have been reminding them of their obligation as well, insisting on the obligation, you'd have made more money. Don't you think so? Because every letter I turn to, I see you will remind them, finally, we are reminding you of the 60% payment. Anyways, that's all right. So now, you are still raising issues regarding signatures of contrast committee members. Number 1, the audit, the internal auditor, is that not correct? He
Correct.
failed to sign, and
Correct.
you raised that issue.
Correct.
And then you have the procurement officer. What is the name of the internal auditor? You will see it in
Ablai J. Kaur.
Abla J. Kaur. And
Yes.
the name of the procurement officer at the time? One
Aidan
Aidan Jai.
Aidan Jai.
Jai, yes. So they refused to sign these contrast committee meetings. And you were telling us as to circumstances that may lead to procurement officers or contrast committee members not signing contrast committee meetings. Can you please just have a recap on that?
Now, appending your signature on a document, especially when it comes to minutes, indicates agreeing to whatever the content will be.
Yes.
Now, if you are not satisfied or in agreement with the content, you may have reservations and not sign.
That's correct.
2, if you are not part of that particular meeting and probably they want you to sign and agree to the content, you may refuse to sign.
Yes.
You may be part of the meeting, you may disagree to agree on something, but at the end of the day, your suggestions or advice or whatsoever is not taken on board, and whatever they are taking, probably you feel that is not in line with what is supposed to be. So in that case, appending your signature means committing yourself and also agreeing to what they are saying. So in such a case, obviously, probably whoever is affected may reserve he or him
Yes.
herself not to sign.
Okay, so I understand that. So we'll now come back to that. But then again, why do you always request for contrast committee meetings and insisting that they must be signed before you sometimes grant approval? And not only the minutes of meetings that have been signed, but then across the names of the members, you sometimes insist on their telephone numbers, don't you?
Yes, yes.
So tell us the reasoning behind that. Why do you insist on those?
First, on the insisting that they should sign.
Yes.
Remember, the principles of procurement is to ensure transparency, openness, accountability,
Yes.
and so on and so forth. And remember also that the law requires that the accounting officer and those officials concerned are accountable to whatever procurement decision they take.
Okay.
So if that is the case, before one appends his or her signature agreeing to something, obviously, it's a commitment that you are taking, because at the end of the day, you are accountable. If it goes wrong, you are there. If it is right, yes, you are
Why
part
do
of it.
you now request that the contrast committee meetings be signed
So
and telephone numbers be ascribed to the names therein?
So because one of the principles is accountability and openness, whoever is part of a meeting must sign agreeing to whatever is contained on the minutes of the...
Will I be correct to say that, in summary, the reason is so that you will be better informed that if you are to approve a certain application, that you'll be informed adequately that it has been emanated from the contrast committee itself, and it was agreed upon, and they appended their signature to, on it. And then if you suspect any foul play, then the numbers are there for you to verify.
Correct.
Will that not be correct?
Correct.
Now, so in this instance, you have two members, but these two individuals, they are not any ordinary member, are they? The procurement officer, you told us, must be part of the contracts committee.
Correct.
And why is that? I know it is
provided for by
by law.
By the law.
But then also it's very much important. Is that not the case?
Correct.
So if the procurement officer is present, is present in the meeting, and the internal auditor, very key members, and they both fail to sign, for example, would it be advisable to just approve?
No.
But in that case, you approved. The authority approved. Based on that letter, it was approved. The first paragraph informed us that it is the application was approved. Does it not?
That is the 13th July letter.
Yes, yes. Just read the first paragraph.
The authority has taken note of the modification made on your bidding document relative to the procurement of 2 compactors and enjoin you to proceed with the tender.
Yes. Is that not an approval?
Is
that an approval?
yes, approval is given for BCC to proceed subject to indicating.
Subject to what?
Indicate the minimum value of similar contracts.
Yeah, let's forget about those ones. Those ones probably there can be approval as long as subsequently they provide those minimum values, which can always be provided for before proceeding with the bidding process. But you had just told us earlier the importance of having these 2 key members in a contrast committee, and when they fail to sign, it would not be advisable to proceed and grant approval. And now the authority granted approval.
Council, I may also verify, but
No, before you verify, let me refer you to the BCC letter dated 14th. Mr. Sanyang, please, before you verify, let me refer you to the letter dated 14th of July, where the Director General was written to. Please take a look at the letter and read it and see.
14th of July.
Yes, 14th of
From
July.
BCC.
Yes, from BCC.
Restricted.
Just to assist council in this point.
Yes, sir.
Because it's clearly captured in this letter.
Restricted tenders for dustbins and compactors. A reference is made to your letter reference that allowing the council to proceed on a restricted tender basis.
Sorry, when you are reading the letter, kindly read everything because it's evidence that has been taken.
Reference is made to your letter, GPPA stroke BCC stroke TR2 stroke 20 stroke 4 stroke JJ, allowing the council to proceed on a restricted tender basis with the compactors and also the acknowledgement of the signatures of the contracts committee members. I attach a memo from my office to the acting procurement explaining the need for the GPPA to be given the particulars of the contracts committee members, but subsequently declined to sign when approached by my secretary. The reason may be best known to her. We henceforth have to complete our assignment. Attached to this letter is also the signatures list as previously sent to show that Mr. Ablai J. Kor signed the list. We would also prepare for an open tender for the business as recommended by your...
For the? You made a mistake. You said open tender for the?
We would also prepare for an open tender for the dustbins. But the spellings are wrong there, BUS instead of DUS. I think it's supposed to be dustbins as recommended by your institution.
No.
Once again, I would reiterate that we need your advice for the bidding dates because those dates mentioned in the bid documents have elapsed.
So you can see that attached to the list, there are still members in that list who did not sign.
Correct.
As contract committee members.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So does this have an implication in further processes as they go forward in the procurement process?
Yeah, listen. 3, 4 signs. I am not sure. We are making some consult. that we are trying to, and except that is confirmed, I don't know whether that can, and this is, we are not so very sure, but somewhere it is indicated that minutes of a contracts committee agreeing to something must have 3 members to sign. That is what we're trying to confirm.
Okay.
Yeah, and unless
Upon confirmation, let us know when you confirm. Yes. The reason why I'm asking is because here, you have said in your evidence earlier, I think to be precise last week, that the procurement officer is key. And if the
Correct.
procurement officer fails to sign, you understand, a contracts committee meeting, we may have some assumptions to that effect,
Correct, yeah.
right? Yes. Council, you may proceed. He has noted that he will check for us whether all the members are supposed to sign or only 3 members.
Yes.
Signing would be sufficient for them to proceed on the
I
process.
think there is a minimum for
Signatures.
Yes,
signatories.
there is a minimum.
That I will confirm.
Okay. Please confirm for us.
Yes.
Thank you. You may
There is a
proceed.
minimum, but then the issue with this particular procurement is, in fact, more than just having procurement officers refusing to sign. There is a problem regarding more or less like protest based on the files regarding not agreeing probably with, and also the issues of possible signatures being forged. That is where we are heading to. So now, we had spoken about the fact that the first issue was in relation to having 2 members of the contracts committee not signing the document, and then you have raised that
Correct.
issue with them. So they subsequently wrote back to you and said, well, no, Mr. Kaur actually signed. They attached another copy. Is that not the case?
Correct.
That Mr. Kaur actually signed the minutes, but the one you have was not signed. So there were several transactions. So one of the minutes that you are referring to was not signed, but then they attached a subsequent one, which they claimed that it was signed by Mr. Kaur, but then Aidan Jai refused to sign. Do you follow?
Yes.
So you were just reading the letter that they said Mr. Kaur signed.
Correct.
Is there any attachment to that letter regarding the contracts committee minutes that indicates that in fact there was a signature of Mr. Kaur?
Whether there is,
Attachment to that letter to indicate, to show where Mr. Kaur signed?
yes, I have BCC, Banjul City Council contracts committee members.
Yes.
And their names and signatures.
Exactly.
And against Blai J. Kaur, there is a signature.
Yes. That is for the one of the meeting. Is there any date on that?
The date?
Yes. Is there any date on that document?
No, there is no date on this document.
So there is no date on the document, but then they are saying Mr. Kaur signed that document.
Correct, yes.
But there is no date on that document.
It's not dated, yes.
But then the one I showed you earlier, which showed that Mr. Kaur did not sign and and Ida Njai, was there a date ascribed to that document? The minutes? Do you see it?
Contracts committee members held at the CEO's office. Yes, I have one. I don't know whether that is the one you are referring to. It's dated 8 June 2020.
And that is the one that did not have the signatures of Mr. Kaur.
No, this one have the signatures of both Aidanjai and...
No, that is for 8 June.
Yes.
The ones we are dealing with are in July.
In July.
I will come to the letter for with respect to 8 June. In fact, let's just deal with it right now since you have seen it. So the data for 8 June indicates that both the internal auditor and the procurement officer signed that document. Is that not the case?
Yes, the 8 June.
Yes.
Yes.
Seems to suggest that they signed the documents.
Correct.
Now, but then that was in June for the same subject matter.
Yes.
But then subsequently, the other contracts committee meetings indicates of 1st July will show that, in fact, Aidan Jai did not sign the contracts committee meetings.
Yes.
And Mr. Kaur. But then when you wrote to them, they wrote to you back indicating that, in fact, Mr. Kaur signed the minutes of the meetings, and then they attached a sample, a copy.
Correct.
And that copy, there is no date on it.
Yes.
In your time in dealing with this file at JPPA, have you received any form of complaints from any individual involved in this particular transaction regarding issues of signature or issues of malpractice of any kind, whether formally or informally?
I could remember sometime receiving something of that nature from one Aidan Jai.
Please tell us the details regarding the nature of the complaint or interactions with Aidan Jai.
According to her, her signature was forged when she refused to sign, append her signature on minutes of a particular contracts committee meeting.
Yes. So she claimed that her signature was forged. Do you recall what time this was, which year this was?
I cannot recall.
You can't recall, but then you recall having that interaction with her.
Yes.
How many times? Was it once, or was she coming to the office several times?
I cannot remember, but I could remember that she once came to my office with such a complaint.
And then the one that she is said to have signed does not have a date.
I think the one that we are looking at, where the Ablai Kaur signed.
Yes.
But still, Aidan Jai didn't.
Yes. Aidan Jai didn't.
And
but
that
then
is the one without the date.
Exactly.
A date.
Now, on the one on the 8th is where there appears to be a signature of hers.
Yes.
That was the one on the 8th of June.
Correct.
So this 8th of June would have preceded, would have come first because you have June and then July naturally. So she is saying that she did not sign, her signature was forged, and the only one we see in the file that appears to have her signature generally is the one on the 8th of June 2020, seemingly agreeing to the contracts committee conclusion.
Correct.
But there is no date on that one, you are saying.
Correct.
Now,
So before
Yes.
you proceed, Mr. Sanyang, didn't you feel as an authority that you could have taken recourse provided for in section 67 of your act? Because this one is direct and is specific. Somebody has reported to you that her signature is forged. Would it not have been prudent for you to have recourse to section 67?
Section 67 is about investigation. Can you answer it?
Your Honor, Madam Chair, the authorities should have taken remedial action. Section 60, like you said, that's in the old act. In the new act is
84.
section 84.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you are right. That provision is there for the authority to act.
Because this just would not have been you engaging yourself in a fishing expedition. It was very direct. Thank you. Council?
Yes. Now,
Sorry. Yes, before you proceed on to further in July, please, Mr. Sanyang, look at the letter that was written to you on the 7th of July, where the CEO indicated that attached to this letter is a copy I wrote to the acting procurement officer to authenticate her signature, but she declined.
Yes, I have seen that.
So which means there was really an issue with the procurement officer.
Correct.
Yes, that is what I wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, please.
now, I think in the file 2/20, there is, you've already seen the letter or the minutes of 8 June 2020. And then there is a form 012, dated the 23rd day of June 2020. Do you see that? Form 012. Do you see it?
Dated?
Dated the 23rd of June 2020.
Yes, I have several forms 012 signed by different individuals.
Do you see any signature of a name called Aidanjai in any of those forms 012?
Yes, Aidanjai.
Please compare that signature with the one on the 8th of June 2020, the one you have just read to us. The one without the date.
Okay. The one without date.
Yes, the one that Aidanjai purportedly signed.
That one is the 8th one.
8,
On
yes,
8th,
the 8th of June 2020. You compare it with the one 23rd of June 2020.
Look at it. No, that's it. This is what
Do you see it?
you want us to compare.
Please compare the signatures.
Yes, I
Do
have looked at
do you
them.
notice anything in the signatures?
Well, I don't think we are experts in.
No, you don't
but
have
then
to be an expert.
They seems to be to differ anyway.
They seem to be different.
Yes.
Okay. What is Form 012?
Form 012 is the declaration by members of the Contracts Committee.
Okay. Now, you are saying, as far as your judgment is concerned, they seem to be different signatures. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Jaite, do you hold the same view?
Yeah, this is clear. I don't have to be an expert to know that these two signatures are not the same.
You are?
I don't have to be an expert
To know they are
that
not the
these
same.
two signatures are not the same.
Thank you very much. Can I have the register pull the two documents and show the commissioners these two documents that we are referring to also have a feel as to the signatures we are trying to compare and contrast? The Honorable Registrar of the Commission will show the commissioners the two documents.
Whilst they're checking, can I ask that, can you let us know what the regulation provide for the certification made by a member of a contracts committee. What does the regulation say about that?
Certification made
You
by
know, form 012 you said is
the declaration by
Yes.
members of the
contract.
Contracts
What,
committee.
what does the regulation say about that?
Well, in short, this is where members of a contracts committee will certify that they don't have any interest whatsoever in the subject matter, in the procurement.
Can you refer us to the regulation, please? So that we would appreciate why the members should
Have
sign.
the regulation, but I cannot remember which section provides for
The
that.
regulation that deals with the contracts committee members signing.
Procurement proceedings. Services. Contract administration establishment and staff.
Is it provided for in the regulations?
I cannot remember. That is what I'm trying to verify.
Okay, then if you cannot see,
Yeah. The great-
we,
Contrast committee.
when you see it, you can just
68.
anytime.
Okay.
The declaration of interest, usually the contracts committee members would have to, it is usually sign a declaration form to declare that they have no interest in the procurement process or the suppliers that they are dealing with or third parties that may be affiliated to them. Ms. Sayang, is that correct?
Come again?
I am saying the declaration form is more or less like declaring that you have no interest therein,
Yes.
either with the suppliers or the procurement process or third parties that may be affiliated with the suppliers.
Correct.
So generally, I see it throughout in your file. It's more like a standard requirement. It's more like a standard requirement.
Yes.
So when you see the correct citation, just please don't hesitate to show us so that we can inform the chairperson. Are we together?
can we proceed, please?
Yes. I'm just having a discussion with my lead counsel because generally the regulation will just kind of prohibit any form of or address any form of conflict of interest. So sometimes it is through those sections that may address the issue of conflict of interest that usually institutions will have to provide provide forms or mechanisms as to how they can address issues of conflict of interest.
That is why I asked
Yeah.
whether this is guided by also the regulations.
Yes, it is.
It must be there because this list that I am showing you, although we agree that the citations are not consistent because this is about 2003, but you have it on regulation 142. So that's the old regulation. And now that the regulation is changed, it must be there, but I have to verify where exactly it is captured. So it's Regulation 142 of 2003 regulations.
Yes, because in the 2018 regulation, 142 is about basic pricing approaches.
Yes, so I'll
So it is
confirm.
wrong,
I will
yeah.
confirm which one corresponds with these sections or these
So kindly
provisions.
get your office to amend this, to have the correct citations against the forms. That will enable us understand and appreciate, you understand,
Okay,
what is contained in the regulation and what the forms are talking about.
correct.
All right?
We'll do that. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Yes, so we've already discussed that the two signatures, they appear to really be very much different.
Yes.
And Mr. Jeta even said you don't even have to be an expert, which I entirely agree with. But again, we have a complaint as well that signatures were allegedly forged. We will deal with that when subsequent witnesses come. So the contract was still approved and it went ahead. So Keba and Sons was really the initial pick by BCC. You've now advised that Fatima Sabali is the one that is much more qualified when it comes to the dustbins. The 5,000, please proceed, yes. Go ahead.
No, what I wanted to say is they indicated the reasons why Fatima
Copy and pasting. We have already
was
discussed that.
dropped. Yes. and
Your
that
position
is
was
copy
copy.
and paste. And on our side,
You said copy and paste is not
indicated anywhere.
it's
in
not a
the
ground
as
for refusal
Exactly, yes.
or disqualifying a bidder.
A bidder, yes.
Yes. So now, you will see in the file, I'm not sure whether we have time, Madam Chair, we want to discuss the problems that BCC subsequently encountered with Fatima Sabali regarding the alleged non-fulfillment of her obligations and the correspondences back and forth. I'm not sure whether we have time. We can deal with it more on Monday or we can proceed. It depends on the commission. I see the time is 4:30.
Is a convenient
Yes,
point to stop.
we can conclude that last question that
It will take minimum of 1 hour or 30 minutes.
is it a new?
It's the same thing. It's three files that they have, because the problems with this particular procurement is that Fatima Sabali at some point could not proceed with the procurement. Is that not correct?
Correct.
And then they wrote to Fatima Sabali, and then they were claiming, they in fact wrote to GPA, but before that, on the 10th of November 2020, you check the file 3/20. 3/20, the file 3/20. Please check it.
3/21 or
3/20.
3/22, because we have two.
They have what? 3/22.
1 and 3/22.
2. 3/22. Do you see it? Do you see it?
What?
3/22.
Yes, I have the 3/22.
Now, on the 7th October 2020, they sent a notification of award of contract to Fatima Sabali. And then on the 30th of October 2020, BC wrote to your office, notifying the failure to execute the contract on the side of Fatima Sabali Trading. Is that not correct? 30th October 2020.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the
Can you read the content of that file? This is the file that they addressed to you. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Please read the content briefly.
contract agreement for the supply of 5,700 plastic waste bins
Yes.
to the Banjul City Council. Reference is made from the contract agreement signed between Banjul City Council and Fatima Sabali Trading Limited, Kanife Municipal Council, dated on the 14th of October 2020 for the supply of 5,700 plastic waste bins, Lot 1 and 2. Attached is a copy of the agreement signed, and according to the agreement, goods were to be delivered in 2 weeks after signing the contract, and that's from the 14th of October 2020 to 28th October 2020. The contractor up to date was failed to deliver the goods as agreed, and no notice was delivered to us for her failure to deliver the goods on time. According to the agreement, the contractor has failed to perform and the contract period is expired. We would to seek for advice as what next step we should take, since the contract was expired.
But on the same day, when they wrote to seek for advice regarding what to do with respect to the contract, as far as they're concerned, the contractor failed to meet up with our obligations. That same day, they wrote to the contractor Fatima Sabali Trading, and they gave her 7 days to perform, or the contract will be terminated. That same day.
So you mean
Whilst there was a letter addressed to your office
on the 30th
on the 30th seeking for advice as to what to do with the contract that they are saying was not adhered to or was not fulfilled by Fatima Trading. The same day, they sent another letter to the contractor, indicating that she is given 7 days to fulfill the contract, failure of which the contract will be terminated.
Okay, I have seen that.
Yes. So my question now would be, was the letter to your office seeking for advice then genuine when they had already had an intention to terminate after 7 days?
It's not genuine.
So genuine.
It's not genuine.
So now, on the 2nd day of November, 2nd day of November, Fatima Sabali Trading wrote to them querying or contesting the fact that, in fact, they are the reason as to why she could not perform the contract. Because, in fact, to a large extent, they didn't want to give her the contract in the first place. As far as she is concerned, she signed the contract document, and they failed to give her a copy, so she could not secure a bank guarantee, because the bank guarantee is what she could not produce, which resulted to them seeking to terminate the contract. So now, that is the 2nd of November. She's now accusing them of putting her in a position where she doesn't have an option but then to fail based on the timeline given to her. Do you see that on the document, 2nd November?
The letter dated
2nd November.
2nd November, yes.
Yes. So just give us a brief. Is that the letter from the lawyer or the letter from Fatima Sabali Trading herself? Because there were two communications, one from her and one from her lawyer, Ida Drame.
I think this one is from Fatima Sabali because it's signed by Fatima
Sabali,
Sabali,
yes.
CEO, Fatima Trading.
Then that must have been the first letter. So now, after that letter, BCC, now on the 18th of November, 2020, they wrote back to her, reminding her of the 10% deposit that was paid to her.
On the 18th of November?
Yes, 18th November.
Yes.
You know, I will tell you why it is funny. It's really interesting when it comes to this procurement. because before I go into that letter, when a contractor is required to produce a bank guarantee, are they at liberty to do this in piecemeal? Let's say go to one bank, the bank will guarantee you $2 million. Let's say the contract is, let's say for example, 10 million. Can they do it in piecemeal with different banks?
To take bank guarantee from different banks, you mean?
What are you guaranteeing? Are you guaranteeing the entire amount of the contract? What is the bank guarantee supposed to cover generally?
The bank guarantee normally covers the advance payment.
Yes.
And it should be equivalent to the amount of money given to you.
Given to you.
In case there is a default, they can always bank on that to recover whatever monies are given.
Now, Council, for us to be very clear, for our understanding, based on what we have seen in the documentation, there are two things. There is a bid security that you are asked to provide as a bidder, and there is a security performance bond. So I want you to clarify these two, because for the bid security, it is whilst you understand you are filing your tender and all that stuff is all provided for, and even the security bond, a performance bond, is also provided for where the contract requires the supplier to provide it. It is provided for in the bid. So now explain to us so that we have a clarity as to whatever advance the PO has to pay you, is it covered by the bid security or the security or the performance security bond?
The bid security secures the bid so that the suppliers can remain bonded with their bid. They cannot withdraw at a stage. That is for the bid alone, have nothing to do with performance and the like. So that one is a security for the bid itself to hold any supplier or contractor to bind them with their bid so that they cannot withdraw. That is the bid security. And it's always between 2 to 3% of the bidded amount. Performance security, here you are.
Is it different from bank guarantee?
Well,
are they the same, or are there any difference?
They
because
may be
Council is talking about a bank guarantee.
They may be different. Bank guarantee is when advance payment is to be effected. Advance payment. So you provide a document that will show that this money given to you, in case there is a default, there is something that we can hold on.
Yes.
That is the bank guarantee. And it's always equivalent to the amount of money given to you, so that if there is a failure, you can always turn to that and then recover your money. That is the bank guarantee.
So is provided for mandatorily in the Act or in the regulation?
Yes, it's provided for in the Act.
You can proceed.
Yes, so we will come back to the bank guarantee subsequently.
Yeah, so now I think,
Yes.
yes, you were asking about time. It's now 4:45.
Yes, let me just ask the last question.
Yes, okay.
And then I was intending to be here till 6, but that's fine.
Today at least there is lunch, we can proceed. Yesterday
Well, I think Nawek cheated us with
Yes.
time, and that is why I'm trying to make up for
Yes,
time
absolutely.
that we lost.
All right, so just last question. We will now leave the issue of the bank guarantee. But one fundamental issue is that on the 30th October 2020, you were reading that, that letter.
30th October?
October 2020, where they wrote to GPPA notifying you of the failure of the supplier or the contractor to meet up with the contract. In that letter, were you not notified that there were no advance payments made to the contractor?
30th October.
Yeah, 2020. They filed 3 of 20 of the second file of 3 of 20. You were just reading it. We just dealt with it some few minutes ago. In that letter, you will see that they notified you of the failure of the contractor to meet up with her obligations as per the contract.
I'm struggling to see it.
But do you see the letter for the 18th November?
November 18th.
Yes, 2020. My point is we can deal with this on Monday, but the issue is on the 30th, when they wrote to you, it appears as if they informed you that there were no advance payments made to Fatima Sabali Trading, but when they wrote to Fatima Sabali Trading, they were requesting for advance payments made to her.
Okay.
So on Monday we will. On Monday, I will make sure I will refer you to those 2 documents. Okay. But just for you to get the gist of the conversation, that when they were dealing with GPPA, they did not give you adequate information, that's BCC, regarding whether monies were paid to the contractor. In fact, they said categorically clear that no advance payments were made to the contractor. But on the 18th of November, when we were dealing with Fatima Trading individually, they informed her or reminded her of the advance payments made to her, and that it has to be recovered. Okay. Do you understand? Very well. Madam Chair, thank you so much. We will continue from there when we come back.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jete and Mr. Sanyang. We will resume sitting on Monday, and thank you so much. We may rise.